Ladies and gentlemen, may I have your attention, please? The show starts in 3, 2, 1, go.
Good morning, CaneSport. It's November 30th, 2021. I'm Gary Ferman, the publisher of CaneSport.com, joined as always by our managing editor, Matt Shodell, as we discuss the news of the day. And Matt, quite frankly, I don't think anybody gives a damn about the news of the day. They want to know the news of what is going on in this athletic director coach situation, who's coming, who's going, what's going to happen. And, you know, the first thing I'm going to say is we're kind of in the wild, wild west. I mean, if you look at what's going on in the last 24 hours in college football coaching, it's unlike anything we've ever seen. I mean, USC steals Lincoln Riley out of Oklahoma, and then LSU, rebuffed by Lincoln Riley, goes and steals Brian Kelly from Notre Dame. Absolutely amazing. And so now the question obviously becomes, will the University of Miami be able to steal their own whale from some place? Hint, hint, wink, wink. Or will they stay status quo, come back with Manny Diaz, or will they embark on a coaching search for the best coach they'll ever find? And all right, so obviously I'm spending every waking moment working on this story. And I wanted to point out a few things. First, let's take a look at USC. All right. And everyone's been making this big deal about Manny Diaz should have been fired in the middle of the season, early in the season, because it would have helped Miami in a search. And I think USC is a great example of what I've been saying all along, in that it really doesn't matter. All right. So they fired Helton early in the year and sat there for 3 months, you know, without a head coach and knowing who it's going to be. And up until the minute that they pulled Lincoln Riley out of Oklahoma, they didn't have a clue. Nobody had a clue what was going to happen at USC. It was totally irrelevant. Their season's been over, and now they're announcing Lincoln Riley. So firing their coach in September meant absolutely nothing to their coaching search. LSU, same thing with Ed Orgeron. They announced in the middle of the season, Ed Orgeron will not be back. They declare that their job's open. Well, now their season is long over. They haven't gotten anybody that they were going after. And now at the last minute, they pay big bucks. They get Brian Kelly from Notre Dame. So my point is, Matt, and I want you to weigh in on this because I know that you've kind of lined up on the other side of the table on this subject. Has the events of the last 24 hours with these two schools and the way that their coaching search has played out changed your opinion on the urgency of firing Manny Diaz in the middle of the season if you're going to replace him? Because it's now proven that what I've been saying the entire season, it doesn't matter. And I don't think it matters at Miami either. And I'll elaborate on that more in a minute. But go ahead in your opinion first on these events.
Well, I mean, you're just assuming Manny Diaz is going to get fired, right? So
no. I'm not, and I'm going to get into that in a minute. I'm not assuming that. I've been respecting the fact that he could be back, and that there's people at the university that want him back.
Okay,
For the last week, since I reported it a week ago that was a possibility.
Right. So given that, so here's the difference, right? Those schools had either presidents or athletic departments. I don't cover those schools. I don't know who made the decision, but they said, we know this isn't right. We know this isn't what it should look like. We are not this. And they said, we are not going to let the fans endure this for one more day. The fans deserve better than this. And they said, that's it. At Miami, they don't care. Maybe they'll keep Manny. Maybe they won't. It's wishy-washy. It's all public perception. And yeah, if they wind up firing Manny and they hire Mario Cristobal, this stuff will all be swept under the rug. No one will remember it anymore. Everything will be great. But no one's going to remember that there was all this wishy-washiness that still exists. The fact that 2-4 and 7-5 gets you this inside the athletic department, inside the board of trustees, whereas at other programs, like ESPN said, they have that alignment. Everyone agrees that that's not okay. At Miami, apparently now, maybe it is okay. And you might say, they're doing it fine. And you have said that. You said they're going through the process. It's fine.
I am saying that. No doubt.
And I'm saying it's not fine because other programs, like you're saying, this is proving something. Other programs have said this is not okay, and we're going to let you know it's not okay right now. And at Miami, no matter how great it looks, if they hire Mario Cristobal or whatever the case is, behind the curtain, there's still that wishy-washiness that exists, that doesn't exist at these other programs. And I would argue that even with a Mario Cristobal, you've got to get rid of that wishy-washiness to be an elite program. You can't be complacent. You can't be okay with the way things are. You have to make drastic changes and let everyone know what's acceptable and what's not acceptable. Miami already has not done that. Miami's already failed that failed that test. Now, with that said, it's really interesting. I was talked to a whole lot of recruits yesterday. But, listen, Miami coaches have been in touch with a lot of recruits. They're visiting, they're calling kids. They're going about business as usual, which is great. They should. Why not? They might be back. And guess what? Kids are actually receptive to them, even in this uncertain times, which bodes really well for Miami's program, by the way, because Miami is a brand. It shouldn't be about a coach, and if a coach is fired, it shouldn't be about that. It should be about, here's why our school's great, and here's why no matter who's fired, it's just going to be better. These coaches aren't getting fired to make us worse. These coaches are getting fired if they get fired to make us better, and here's why you should want to be a part of that regardless. And, I was talking to a kid, and it was funny, he actually was talking to Manny Diaz. And Manny Diaz, started talking about the media and the perception of him in the media and the perception of this program in the media. And his argument was basically, kids are happy here. You don't see kids transferring out of Miami. Our players are happy. Our players are playing hard. Our players are getting an education. Our players are progressing and getting better. He says if it wasn't for the media, this is, of course, secondhand, whatever you want to call it. This is not me talking to Manny. This is another person talking to Manny and then telling me, okay? With that in mind, if not for the media, people would think things are fine, which I found a little staggering just considering the final record.
I'm not even going to comment on all that. Like, that's
right. So, but this is what he's selling.
Right.
Right. And this is what Miami has now gotten itself into. This is the top of the football program and what he is telling top recruits. This is why when they didn't fire him midseason, this is now what you have. And you can say all you want to me. It's fine. Why rush? Let him stay. Who cares? I care. Fans care.
But will they care if a week from now it's all worked itself out and there's a happy ending to all
It's still behind the curtain. That's what I'm saying. They won't care. The fans just care what's right in front of them. But you and I both know, Gary, that's still behind the curtain, and that still has to be dealt with for this program to be at the elite level some other programs want to reach.
Yeah, if we're sitting here a week from now and there's not a happy ending, then I think it's a different debate. But here's what I'll say. Manny Diaz's buyout goes down Wednesday, tomorrow. Okay? And you and I have debated this. You think they should have thrown away the money. I don't think they should have thrown away the money. Probably ballpark.
It's not throwing away the money. I told you. Let him
$2 million
as a figurehead and then fight in court if you have to. Whatever.
No, what I'm saying, $2 million for what? What are you gaining? The guy that you're clearly hunting is not even available till Saturday. Okay, so what's the point of throwing the money away? There's one candidate for this job.
Again, Gary, it's not throwing the money away if you let him finish the season. Let him finish the season and just make the announcement.
Okay, but here's my point. There's the leader of the pack in terms of who Miami should pursue for this job, and then there's everybody else. Okay, and yeah, you might be able to tier the everybody else, but there's one guy, and this isn't just my opinion. Everybody I speak to totally agrees with this. There is one guy that moves the needle at Miami right now.
There's no doubt about it. It's not even close.
You're not, you weren't going to be the one to land Lincoln Riley, okay, from Oklahoma. USC had more juice in that situation.
It doesn't matter. Mario's the right fit here. Like, it doesn't.
100%.
I'll take Mario over any other. Over any other coach.
I agree
because he will.
You can get a guy that can draw up plays. Yes.
You keep the kids home, Miami will win championships. He will keep the kids home. I strongly believe that.
I agree. So, all right. So we'll just assume that no matter whatever the methodology is, that somebody has made it known that yes, Miami would be interested in making that move. Until that deal is done, then I believe the University of Miami doesn't want to fire Manny Diaz because, like, you're only going to blow this thing up at this point if you can land a whale. And right now there's one whale. And if you can't get that deal done, I'm not convinced that the University of Miami has any interest whatsoever in blowing the whole thing up, going through a coaching search, and overpaying for a coach who's in the pack, like let's say a Mark Stoops, and you're gonna have to pay him now $8 million, and lock yourself into a $40 million. Wait, don't interrupt me. Lock yourself into a $40 million deal with Mark Stoops that you don't know is going to move a needle in any way, shape, or form, and now you're really screwed if he can't do it. I don't think they have an interest in doing that. I don't think they're looking to just blow up the program for anybody. Okay, if they can get a deal done with a guy at the level of Mario Cristobal, the level he's at right now, what he would mean to Miami, then I think they will make a move. If they can't, then I think the other two scenarios are in play. But I think the possibility of Manny staying at least for another year becomes a very prominent part of this whole equation. So if I'm right about this, and I think I'm right, but I can't tell you guys that I have absolute proof that I'm right. But if I am right about this, it never made sense to fire Manny Diaz in the middle of the season, and it hasn't made sense to fire him thus far. Now, starting Wednesday, that buyout goes down, and I think it's a new ball game at that point because now they're not going to eat the $2 million or $2 million plus, whatever that is, the differential in the buyouts, and now they can make the big boy decisions that need to be made, and we will see what happens. If we're sitting here a week from now and we're still in the same boat, it might be time for everybody to start the parade that's already begun of criticism of Miami, because then at that point they're going to say, oh, we're waiting for the AD hire. If that hasn't taken place to that point, which it might take place this week, we'll see that also. But now there's a lot more dancing that'll be going on, and I think there'll be a lot more openings for criticism for those that want to criticize. But right now, if this comes together here in the next few days, and maybe they find an AD in the next few days, maybe they don't. Maybe they land their whale after Friday night's game. Maybe they don't. I mean, you could certainly bet the ranch that Oregon's not going to go down fighting. And the other thing I'll point out is that you're dealing with Phil Knight. Like, do you really want to get into that also, if that's what it comes down to? It's like, so, they're going about this the right way, in my opinion. I have been defensive of the Miami administration. I think they've done everything right so far. Now we got to see what the end game is. They got to get to the finish line, Matt.
Disagree.
Okay, but thank you for not interrupting me.
You don't even talk.
Thank you. No, you didn't interrupt me. So now I'm not going to interrupt you. Go ahead.
I didn't interrupt you because I was daydreaming in my mind and picturing Mario Cristobal and orange.
I'm going to laugh if it plays out the way I think it could.
Listen,
I think everyone's going to be so happy they're not going to remember all this.
That's not what I disagree with.
All right, go ahead.
They can get Mario. They still can get Mario for sure. What I disagree with is you say they did everything right. They went about it the right way, blah, 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 blah. You not fire Manny Diaz, but you announce you're replacing Manny Diaz middle of the season and let him finish the year. You are now in a situation where you have shown the resolve that you understand the problem and the resolve that you will do whatever it takes to get Mario Cristobal. Now they're in this position where they are butting heads because there is another option. The other option is just keep it the way it is. Manny's team did fine, won 5 of the last 6, 4th and 14 away from winning the last. Stop shaking your head. Just stare at the camera. I didn't shake my head.
Why can't you walk and chew gum? Why can't you know and acknowledge that there's problems in the program, that you're middle
because
of the pack,
you need to put yourself.
You can't even compete with anybody any good, and you have to change that.
It's the same as in a football game. In order to get better, you have to make yourself uncomfortable. They refused to make themselves uncomfortable. What would have been uncomfortable would be saying to Manny Diaz, "You're done," and then basically saying, "I don't care if we have to lose money. We're getting Mario Cristobal," because that's what they should be doing at the University of Miami. That's what they should. That's what other top programs are doing right now. Not, hey, if we can't get Mario, if someone outbids us for Mario, we'll go to Plan B or Plan C, or we'll just keep Manny. That's ridiculous.
Yeah, but what if that
shouldn't even be a conversation?
What if that deal doesn't get done, and now you're hiring Mark
That's
Stoops?
The point. Now maybe it won't get done because they didn't back themselves into a corner and get uncomfortable. They have another option. Keep Manny. We can't get the killer. It's too much money. We don't want to lose money in this department. The football program can wait a few years. We'll try to get better some other time when it's a little cheaper. It's insanity.
But what if your solution is to bet $40 million on Mark Stoops?
No, but that's what I'm saying. If you back yourself into that corner and get uncomfortable, Mark Stoops may not even be the answer. They might just keep Mario. Might keep Manny. Now you're getting me all flustered. They might keep Manny.
Would you rather
Mark Stoops?
Would you rather gamble? Would you rather gamble $3.5-4 million on another year of Manny, or $40 million on Mark Stoops, who's never won anything?
Ridiculous. No, it's got to be Mario, maybe Lane, and that's it. And you have to realize that as an administration, and not have this headbutting, and not have this behind the curtain, whatever the hell's going on over there.
They're working through all that.
I know they're working through it all, but even you have to admit, Gary, even you have to admit the price tag might be too high, and we don't know yet. And that shouldn't be the case at the University of Miami. Like, they should be able to get Mario Cristobal and get him the deal he wants and get him here and become a championship program. Not, it's a little too much.
You and I agree on that. We still
have Manny in the back burner. We could keep Manny another year and see how it goes.
You and I agree on that. But why would you want to not wait until you know you have that done and there's a signature on a piece of paper?
Because the fact
before you pull the plug on the whole program.
I already told you the answer. Because the fact that they didn't do it shows a dichotomy in this athletic department, and that there's butting heads that can't seem to get their act together to make a decision like other programs did mid-season or right after the season ended or whatever. $2 million be damned. I don't care if he was allowed to finish the season and save $2 million or not. It's not about the money. It's about winning championships. It's about getting the right guy. It's about telling fans this is not acceptable in this program anymore, and we're done with this. And they are not willing to do that, and that's clear. And they may still get Manny. They may still get Mario. I think there's a good chance it happens. But to say they went about it the right way, I would have done it totally differently.
Nah, I disagree. I think they're doing it the right way. And if it doesn't happen a week from now or so, I might be sitting here screaming with you. I mean, imagine that without would be like for we could be doing Good Morning CaneSport next week, and Matt and I could just be sitting here screaming at the camera. I mean, that could happen.
We already do that. How's that any different than what we're already doing? We're already screaming at the camera. Like, what's different?
But legitimately.
I'm doing it legitimately anyway.
Screaming at the camera with everybody, and the message boards will be exploding, and the world will be coming to an end because that would not be real good. I agree. Listen, I like what I'm seeing. I'm just being honest. I'm never afraid to criticize. Some people think I can be negative. I'm not afraid to tell it like it is. I'm not afraid to give a real opinion. I have no allegiances. I'm not friends with Rudy Fernandez and Jose and these guys that are handling all this. I like what I'm seeing. I think they're being professional. I think they're handling it well. I think they have a chance to have a very happy ending to this whole process. If it falls apart, they're going to have to deal with that and figure it out. Manny's doing a good job playing the role of the, what's the word I should use, Matt? Not spoiler, but he's certainly keeping a happy face on it. He's out recruiting. He's being very frank with the recruits, right, Matt? He's like telling them, that he expects to be the coach and that things are way worse in the media than what they really are in the program.
No. Hold on. First of all, don't put words in his mouth. He's not telling recruits that he's going to be the coach. That just so we're clear, like, he is not saying that. He's being
you're right. Bad choice of words. What he's saying, he doesn't know, right?
Yeah, what he's telling recruits, from what I can gather, is when they do ask him, is he's saying, listen, wherever you go, any coach who tells you he's going to be there for 3 or 4 years is lying to you, and I'm not going to tell you that. Like, nobody knows. He said, there's as good a chance I'll be gone as anyone else, though. Like, this happens everywhere. He says, this isn't him talking now. This is me. But like, if my son was a top football prospect, which would never happen because one of them is 5'8" and the other one's 160 pounds. But if one of them magically ate a magic bean and became a top football prospect, like, I would urge him to pick a program, certainly not for a coach. but for a place where he feels like he's bonded with some of the kids who are younger on the team, for a place where he feels like it's a good environment for him academically and athletically, and a location that he loves. The last thing on that list, and it would be on the list, but one of the bottom things would be, I like my position coach, and below that, I like my head coach. Like, because they just don't last. They just don't last. It's just the nature of the beast right now.
Yeah, and you make a great point. I mean, look at Oklahoma. Whoever would imagine that Lincoln Riley was going to leave Oklahoma, or Brian Kelly was going to leave Notre Dame? I mean, that was two totally unpredictable occurrences that happened in the last 24 hours. Those guys have been recruiting kids to those schools. So, listen, this is a changing landscape. The price is going up for coaches. And the reason for that, Matt, is there aren't a lot of good ones out there. There really aren't. And I think that's Miami's dilemma as much as anything. I don't think there's any doubt in the administration of Miami that they need to be much better. I mean, all you got to do is open your eyes. I mean, you see the Georgia Tech team that, took Miami down to the last play, playing Georgia and not even being remotely competitive, losing by 40-something points. You saw what the Miami...
Why do you use that example, by the way? They already weren't competitive with Alabama or Michigan State. Just point to Miami's own games.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say next.
I mean, third parties.
Well, before you interrupted me, I was getting ready to say you saw the Alabama game where Miami was not even...
like, you don't have to say Georgia Tech against Georgia.
I was getting ready to say that, Matt. All you got to do is not interrupt me. I was on my way to that point. So they saw that, just like everybody else out here saw it, and they know how far away the program is right now. And the decision was very simple. Can Manny Diaz take it to that level? And listen, we like Manny. Manny's a good dude, but there is zero evidence of that, Matt. And I don't think they're blind to that. And I think they would like to land a whale. What I think they don't want to do is blow the whole thing up and end up with a Jag, just another coach that they have to commit massive dollars to, and they're stuck with for 5 years.
Jag is actually just another guy, not just another coach. But I agree with you, 100%.
Right. The Jack, just another coach.
I'm not going.
They don't want to end up
like
with
a
Jack.
word. That's not a word. Let's not.
And no disrespect to any of the Jacks out there, but most of the coaches are Jacks.
All right, edit this out.
And that's why all these schools just keep rotating them, because they're Jacks.
Take two.
Yeah, well, they're Jacks. They can't make a difference. They don't have the skill set to make a difference. There's a handful of guys that do. That's why they're starting to get paid $12 million. It's absolutely unbelievable. All right, Matt. So let's get back to what we're really supposed to be here for, and that's the news of the day.
What?
It's about recruiting.
That's news to me.
Huh?
That's news to me. I didn't know we were discussing the news of the day.
Well, first we had to discuss what everybody wants to hear discussed. Now we're going to get back to the news of the day. And it's about recruiting. It's about the home visits that Manny Diaz is making. Let's start with I want to talk about Javonte Barnes, because I think you'll be a little fired up about this one. All right, so they decide they're not taking a running back in this class way too early, okay? And this is part of the whole problem. But anyway, they decide they're not taking a running back in the class way too early because the running back position at Miami is all set. Well, I got a bulletin. The running back position at Miami is not all set, okay? It's not, okay? Jalen Knighton is a phenomenal running back, okay? He is not a number one workhorse running back. He's too small for that. He will get the living daylights beat out of him if he had to fulfill that role much more than what he did for the last, 6 games or so this year. That's not where he's best. Jalen Knighton is best as a change of pace back, a third down back coming out of the backfield. Don Chaney's always hurt. He was hurt in high school. He's been hurt every year here at Miami. You can't count on Don Chaney. He'll be back next year. He'll try again. You can't count on him. Cam Harris is gone. Thad Franklin, for most of the year, couldn't get on the field because the coaches didn't like the way he practiced. Showed some promise as somebody you could put into the rotation. Doesn't look to me like, Matt, and you can comment on this, he doesn't look to me like a guy with the speed to be a number one running back. So I don't think you have a number one running back in this program. And the question then becomes, why did you wait until now, December, to start trying to recruit one? And that brings us to today's story, Matt, on Javonte Barnes. He's from Las Vegas, okay? He's a 4-star, hasn't been seriously recruited by Miami. Now he is. He's supposed to visit December 10th. I think that Coach Hickson wanted to go play craps in Vegas, and I think Javonte Barnes wants to leave the desert and come hang out on the beach and it's a perfect marriage. Do you agree or disagree? And does Miami have any chance to land this kid?
Well, first, let's start with, you talked for a while there, so let's break that down a little bit. You have to understand, like,
I still got my tape. Great.
You're not going to need your tape for this because you'll agree with me. When coaches evaluate their recruiting needs, it can be 2 years in advance. It can be 1 year in advance. Rarely is it 2 months in advance or 1 month in advance. And the reason is they're not really looking at, the guys we recruited are no good, we need new guys. They do their recruiting numbers based on what do we have on our roster. And what they thought they were going to have on the roster next year was 2 redshirt freshmen, two sophomores, and a senior. And that's all you need, right? And you take a gap, and then you add 1 running back a year from there on out.
That's all you need if one of them is elite.
Okay. But what I'm trying to explain to you is when they look at their numbers before the season, they're seeing 5 running backs on the roster next year. We're good. We have a big need at these other spots. That's where we're going to take our numbers. We're really crunched because we only got an 85 roster limit. The 25 has nothing to do with this. They are pushed up against that 85 limit, and they thought they'd be very pushed up against it. They pretty much are, actually. So, they can't afford – there's no reason to have 6 running backs on your roster when you know that 6th guy is going to be sitting for 2 years because you think you've recruited really good players. But as the year went on, you're right. They realized, oh, my gosh, first of all, Cam Harris left. They got an inkling of that a few weeks ago, so they started.
Cody Brown's average.
Okay, so this is what we think. It's hard to say what Miami thinks, but yeah, I haven't seen anybody I'd say is amazing. I think Jalen Knighton has amazing ability, but I think he should be limited to 10 to 15 carries and 4 or 5 catches a game. So yeah, not a workhorse back at all.
No, can't be.
But again, it comes down to numbers because they're up against the 85 limit. But with Cam Harris leaving, there is a need. You do need a running back in this class. It's late in the game. They're not going to get Javonte Barnes, barring something very out of the ordinary. He was telling us back in, early in April and May, hey, I want to visit Miami. He's got an aunt in Miami. It's a free vacation. He gets to go back home. He's from Orlando.
And it's a vacation.
It's a free vacation for the kid. I mean, look, good for the kid. He gets to come down here, and good for Miami. This has happened before where a kid comes down like this, loves it, and you never know what might happen, right? But in this case, I'd be very surprised. I think Oklahoma and USC, he was going to Oklahoma, before the coach left, and now he's going to check out USC this weekend, to see Lincoln Riley. So, he's going to go wind up at one of those 2 programs, is my guess. If DeMarco Murray stays at Oklahoma, my guess is he winds up there. But you take your shots, and the only issue I have is just, again, you can call it appearances, you can call it whatever you want, but the fact that you have a kid you're recruiting for a few months in April, May, and June, stop talking to the kid, totally drop him, and then all of a sudden, hey, remember me? Coach Hickson from Miami, you want to come visit? We still love you. I don't know what happened for those 5 months. I had a, it's funny, the kid actually told me, I didn't put this in the story, the kid told me that Coach Hickson had some sort of family emergency, and so they fell out of contact or something. I don't know what Coach Hickson said, or if this kid just made that up, because I didn't even really ask what happened. But because the coach I guess coach has to explain somehow, why didn't I call you for 5 months? It wasn't that I thought you suck. It was I was really busy. I was seeing other people. I had a lot of other dates, and you weren't on the date list, and I just forgot, and it was my bad. I don't know what they say, but. So they call the kid again. They get him to come on a visit. Great. But, yeah, don't get your hopes up.
All right. Also a story on Manny Diaz's visit with Ja'Cory Brown, and he's the quarterback commit.
Love Ja'Cory Brown.
Huh?
One of my favorite recruits. He's
great.
It's a name from the past. Tavares Gooden was one of my favorite recruits. You just get a sense for these kids' personalities and what they're all about. And, I love Tavares Gooden. I'll love him forever. Willis McGahee. There's a bunch of them. I put Ja'Cory Brown right in that category, man. This kid is a straight-up dude.
Yeah, he's great.
Going to be a great leader here. Great kid. I mean, even when he came down here, when he came down here for that first visit, does everyone remember what he did? He didn't just go on campus and hang out with the players and party. He met with the leaders in the inner city, government leaders.
Yep.
He wants to be a difference maker. And when you talk to him, man, he's got passion. He knows what he wants in life. He's going to be great in life, whether it works out in football or not. I mean, yeah. I'm a big fan of that kid.
Yeah, and I hope he sticks too. And the interesting thing is that the other schools that have started recruiting him are Ole Miss, Lane Kiffin and Oregon with Mario
is that funny?
Cristobal. Just touching base. Just
What a coincidence.
Just getting to know each other a little bit, just in case, kind of thing. And that's good. I like that because I think they need him to stick in this class. He's
big time.
He's a little bit of a project, but he's really got athletic skills.
He's a gamer, man. When he's one of these kids, like in practice, he's not going to light it up, but you put him in a game, and it's like a different player out there.
Beast in games this year, and he's a good recruit, and hopefully for Miami, he sticks. And then another story today is on the South Florida recruit everybody wants to talk about, and that's Shamar Stewart. And this is one that's going to linger into next year. But the one thing I think is obvious, Matt, now that we've seen Shamar Stewart engaging with Miami now repeatedly again, the Hurricanes are going to be in this. I mean, Texas A&M is going to be hard to overcome. They've done a great job recruiting them. They do, that school does a very good job in recruiting. Okay. And they're going to be hard to overcome. But Miami's going to be in this till the end because it just looks like Shamar kind of wants to be at Miami and doesn't necessarily want to go to Texas to go to school. So one to watch without question. We'll see what happens here in the coming days with the coaching situation and all that. But Matt, I think you would agree Shamar is showing signs that he wants to consider Miami.
Yeah, I mean, the funny thing with Shamar, well, everyone knows he's friends with a bunch of players on the team, loves these guys, but it's the uncertainty around the program that I think is a problem. And, it's funny, I talked to Shamar, I talk regularly to a source close to Shamar, and they're both of them have consistently said it's not about the coaches. It's not about Manny Diaz, and if they bring in Mario or Lane or whatever, that Shamar's making the decisions just best for him and his future, and and the coaches aren't a huge part of that. It's where he feels most comfortable, and blah 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 blah. But I think if Mario Cristobal is the coach, I just don't see him leaving Miami. I don't think there's any way this kid. I think Mario Cristobal would literally have those plane flights canceled if this kid tried to get on a plane to go to Texas. Like, it wouldn't happen. So if Mario winds up being the coach, I think Shamar is going to wind up in Miami. Without him, if Manny comes back as a different coach, I do think he probably winds up at Texas A&M. As weird as that sounds for me to say, based on zero actual information, it's just reading between the lines and knowing Mario and knowing this kid. That's just how I feel.
All right, so to sum everything up today, I'm still on the Rudy train. Okay, I'm still wearing my Rudy shirt around town. I like what Rudy Fernandez and the guys in the UM administration are doing. I hope that in the coming days that they can get to the finish line. And if they can, I think everybody not named Manny Diaz or Manny Diaz Sr. will be happy. Maybe a couple trustees too who are going to puke at the amount of money it's going to cost and all that. But look, I mean, if Miami has to decide what it wants to be, doesn't want to be a big time school or not, and I think they've decided they want to try to be a big time school, but they don't want to make an average hire that's just going to sit there and keep them in cement for 5 years. I like the strategy. I hope they get to the finish line. So for Matt Shodell, I'm Gary Ferman. We'll see what happens in the next 24 hours, and then we'll be back at you again for Good Morning CaneSport tomorrow. So until then, have a great day, everybody.